Gear up, scooter fam. Today, I thought I'd do a video on the Yume Predator versus the Mars XTR. The reason why is I think they compare pretty well against each other. They each have their strong points. I had a viewer ask me about the Yume Predator, um, and thanks for the idea to do this video. He had some in mind, and to be honest, I haven't done a lot of research on the Yume scooters because they have a lot of them have the trigger throttles, which I'm not a fan of, and so when I was just kind of going through them, when I was kind of early on looking at my scooters, and I've seen Yume around here and there, not a ton about it. So anyway, when a viewer commented and asked me about the Yume Predator, I decided that I would do a video on the Yume versus the XTR. Just looking over it, I thought, okay, I know this is it's on sale right now for Black Friday for $34.99. But like a lot of other Black Friday sales, I don't know how much of a drop that is. And so forth. So just glancing at it, like I said, it competes pretty well with the Mars XTR. If you were considering getting a scooter at this time and you were looking at the Predator, I think in my mind one of the main considerations would be like the Mars XTR for bang for the buck. So let's talk a little bit about. I'm going to go over just really quickly the specs that I've gathered for both of them, features and so forth, and what they offer and how it differs. Then I'll go back through a little bit and talk about the things that I think are most important. All right, taking a look at each one. So for the Mars XTR and the Yume Predator, they both go 60 plus miles an hour, which is pretty comparable. I don't see a lot of big difference between the two on that. The stated range for the Mars XTR is 88 miles of range, and the stated range for the Yume Predator is 100. The Mars XTR is not UL listed. The Yume Predator is UL listed. The battery size of the Mars XTR is 72 volt, 45 amp hour. The battery size for the Yume Predator is 72 volt, 50 amp hour. The weight of the Mars XTR is 130 pounds, and the Yume Predator is 170 pounds. The Mars XTR has 11-inch tires, and the Yume Predator has 13-inch tires. The Mars XTR has 2,000 watt motors, and the Yume Predator has 2,300 watt motors. Mars XTR has nut hydraulic brakes. The Yume Predator has quad piston hydraulic brakes. The Mars XTR has a dual stem, and the Yume Predator has a single stem. The Mars XTR has square wave controllers, and the Yume Predator has sine wave controllers. Mars XTR has an IP66 rating, and the Yume Predator has an IP54 rating. All right, so let's go over each one. Not going to spend too much time on that miles per hour. They're both very comparable. On the range, I know that Mars XTR states their range is at 88 miles, and Yume states theirs at 100. I don't know. I haven't seen a Yume Predator range test, so I don't know what the tested range would be. I know that neither of them probably go what they state, but just based on the battery size and the weight, the Yume is way heavier. Its battery size is a tad bit larger, but they're both 72 volt. So I would really expect the range to be pretty close. You got 40 extra pounds on the Predator, but you got 5 more amp hours. So it's probably very close in my opinion. That's my take on it. So leave it at that. The UL listing. I will say the Predator gets the check mark on this one. Sometimes that comes down to the one thing that you're trying to decide on, if it's in UL listing, is certainly a plus. So the Yume line is UL listed, I believe. I know this one is. I did here. It says it right here. All Yume scooters are UL listed. So they're all UL listed, which is a good thing. I think Teewing is trying to get the Mars XTR UL listed, but they're not UL listed as of yet. So that's definitely a check on the side of the Predator. So far, that's the only real thing that I think is a big deal. Once again, the 72 volt 45 amp hour battery versus the 50 amp hour battery. If the scooters weighed exactly the same, you could probably see a little bit of a difference. But since one is 30 pounds heavier, 40 pounds heavier rather, it's kind of a wash to me. That being said, 130 pounds is a lot, but 170 pounds is a whole lot. So 40 pounds difference in a scooter is pretty huge. The Klima, I think, weighs like 80, 85 pounds, something like that. Not too big of a deal. Going from 85 pounds to 130 pounds, that's a big deal. Going from 130 pounds to 170 pounds, also a big deal. I wouldn't be too intimidated by 130 pounds. I lift weights and so forth, so I mean, I don't mind. That wouldn't bother me. I could manage. I could manage that. 170 pounds, I'd have to have a plan. I'll put it that way. I'd have to come up with a plan for that one, and have something in place, because 170 pounds, you're not tossing that around. All right. I'm not. Okay, so moving on to 11-inch tires versus 13-inch tires. The Mars has 11-inch tires, and the Yume Predator has 13-inch tires. I can see arguments for both, right? Sometimes bigger is better, but when you get over 11 inches on a scooter tire, just in my opinion, you're kind of missing a point. You don't want a 20-inch scooter tire. You know what I mean? Like, that's not a scooter anymore. So 13. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not saying it's bad. Like I said, I think you're kind of missing a point at that range. So there's maybe some comfort that comes along with that, but I just don't know if it's necessary. You probably got better torque with the 11-inch tires than you do 13-inch tires. I hear the same thing's true with 10-inch tires versus 11-inch tires. If I went to a 72 volt battery though system, I probably would want at least 11-inch tires. So I think 11 is perfect for this this size of a scooter. But there's anything wrong with 13-inch tires. Once again, so I wouldn't give either one of them a check mark. 13 is not necessarily an upgrade in my opinion. So I'll leave it even at that. I think it's fine if you want 13 or 11, but I think it's a personal preference. I don't think necessarily that one is better than the other. The Mars XTR has 2,000 watt motors, and the Yume Predator has 2,300 watt motors. And I've seen this different. I say 2,300 watts because I can't find a good nominal rating on their site. I had to do a little bit more digging and get some more information. The most solid information I could gather on the nominal rating for the Yume Predator motors is 2,300 nominal watts, and I think that compared to the XTR being 2,000 and it being slightly beefier scooter, that makes sense to me. So I'm going to go with the 2,300 watt nominal power, which is what I state. I don't usually go over peak power because I think that's, in my mind, it's in my research, in my opinion, that's debatable. So it's debatable if you can get more out of a nominal. So I don't know. I don't know. I'm just gonna say like that. Like it's like saying that you can extend your Wi-Fi range in your house by adding a mesh system, and I tried it and it doesn't work. How can it? You can't increase something past what it already is. I understand you're probably getting more out of the overall system, but the motor still is still the motor. So I don't know if that's just right way to put it. I'm not going to go too deep into that. I'm sure plenty of people have opinions about that, but I just don't touch on peak power because I think it's debatable. Moving on. That being said, it's still 300 watts higher per motor than the XTR, and you know that matters. That does matter. They still have the same top speed though, roughly. Maybe the XTR tested a little bit higher, maybe because it's 130 pounds. So I mean, it all plays in together. In this case, I wouldn't really give either one the check mark on this one either. I don't think it's bad. I think it's very similar. I think they're both state that their peak is like 10,000 watts. But once again, I don't really pay much attention to that, me personally. The Predator does have quad piston hydraulic brakes, which is very interesting. If I ever get my situation with my Nami all sorted out, I'm considering going to quad piston brakes for the Klima. But I'm yet to get there. We'll have to get everything else stabilized and get it running nice and smooth, and everything's great. And then I'm considering going from a dual piston to a quad piston. So, however, I think the Teewing has nut hydraulic brakes, so they're just custom designed, right? They're not nut hydraulic, they're not Zoom, they're not Logan. They're custom designed quad piston hydraulic brakes. So, versus nut hydraulic brakes, dual piston, just in the standard hydraulic brakes in the Teewing XTR. So, you could look at that two different ways. I still think I probably would like the quad piston hydraulic brakes versus the nut hydraulic brakes. Nut hydraulic brakes are fine, and a lot of people like them, and I'm sure they work really well. I haven't used them myself, but like I said, I know a little bit more about the quad piston hydraulic brakes along in the Nami line, and so I'm leaning that way, and so I will probably lean that way on this one as well. For the stems, okay, the XTR is a dual stem, and the Yume Predator is a single stem. Now, my opinion, if you're gonna get a beast scooter and you really do want to drive those 60 plus mile an hour speeds, you want a dual stem. That's a no-brainer to me. Now, looking at these myself, which would I feel comfortable getting? I mean, it just depends, right? I don't think I'll ever take either one of these scooters over 60 miles an hour, so I probably wouldn't have to worry about it all that much. But if you really wanted to test the speed out, and you may want to do that, at some point, you'd be safer. You'd be safer on a dual stem scooter. So the XTR takes the check mark in this one. They both go around the same speed, but I would feel safer at 60 plus miles an hour on a dual stem scooter than I would a single stem scooter. So for the motor controllers, the Mars XTR has square wave controllers, and the Yume Predator has sine wave controllers. Now, I think, to me, what that says is that you probably have a lot of torque with the Mars XTR, which also lends to the 11-inch tires. So you're gonna, I believe the Mars XTR will have more torque, based on the tire size, and based on the controller. So sine wave, kind of smooths it out right off the jump. I'm almost positive that the XTR would take them, would take the Predator, because you get that instant power. The Yume Predator is probably nicer, right? It's a nicer ramp up, it's smoother. But once you get going, if you can get used to that power that the XTR is going to give you, and you're not skidding the tires every time you push the accelerator, you're gonna get going faster on the XTR. I would guess pretty easily, that's the way it would be. So they're both really fast. They both, I'm sure, once they get going, are super scooters, with all of their equipment and so forth. But so that being said, that's not necessarily a check mark for the XTR, in my opinion. I'd much rather have sine wave controllers. Sine wave controllers are nicer controllers, simple and plain. I want the control, So that does kind of come down to preference, but for me, sine wave gets the check here. You can get nice power. I got sine wave controllers on the Klima, and I can, and if you go into X mode on the Klima, it's very powerful. It takes off. Maybe not as bad as the XTR, but in any case, I want the control. I don't want my scooter trying to take off without me. Yeah, especially me being a fairly new rider to scooters, and certainly new rider to scooters that can do much higher speeds. I want a sine wave controller, So if at all possible, I could deal with it. I mean, and if I had an XTR to test out or ride, I would love to. I'll probably stay in the lower gears, to be honest. I'm not going to get out there and try to ride this thing at top gear. But it would be interesting and fun to ride, and I can get a feel for how to use the throttle. But in either case, I'm going to give this check to the Yume Predator, because sine wave controllers are the way to go. My opinion. All right, so the last piece of the puzzle, so to speak, of the scooters comparison is going to be the IP rating. And the Mars XTR has an IP66 rating, and the Yume Predator has an IP54 rating. Hands down, I mean, that's not even a difficult decision there. The 66 gets the win. The XTR gets the check mark for this. So 54 is a rating. My Hover 1 Journey Max is IP54, and I try not to go in the rain with it. If I'm out in the rain, or if I'm out and it starts raining on me, I'm okay with that. But I want to get home without too much issues. The Nami Klima is an IP55, so I still wouldn't leave knowing it's going to rain, or leave when it is raining. But I'd feel a lot better on the Klima having to get home in even heavy rain, if I had to. Once again, I wouldn't go out knowing I'm going to get drenched. I don't even have rain gear, so I wouldn't do that intentionally to myself or the scooter. But if I got caught in the rain, I'd be much more comfortable on the Klima than I would the Hover 1 Journey Max, and I'd be way more comfortable on the Mars XTR with an IP66 rating. I wouldn't even worry about it. I might even get some rain gear. So because that's solid, you're not gonna mess up that scooter unless you throw it into a pool, and it might survive that. I've seen some 67 rated scooters recently. I can't remember which ones those are, but that's the Roadrunner RX-7 is 67. That's crazy. But anyway, I wouldn't be concerned at all in the rain with the Mars XTR. So puddles, rain, small ponds. I don't know. Honestly, it's really good for the IP rating. So final thoughts. Everything summed up. Which one would I go with between the XTR and the Predator? UL listing is a big deal to me. 170 pounds is really heavy. 13-inch tires may be a bit much for my particular taste. I'm not necessarily against it, but it's okay. 2300 watt motors to me just is a little bit of an increase, and considering the weight and so forth, not a big deal. The quad piston hydraulic brakes is nice. A dual stem makes me comfortable knowing if I did want to get up to 60 miles an hour one day that I'd be safe doing that. The sine wave controllers make me feel better about the learning curve on that scooter, way better. And then the rain and the IP rating matters a lot too. Not as much. Once again, I'm not planning to go out in the rain, so if I were and I needed it to go to work and back or something like that, then that would be more important to me. It isn't as important to me in this situation. The Mars XTR, I thought I said they're the same price, but in any case, the Mars XTR is $33.99 and the Yume Predator is $34.99, but I believe there's a $100 code for the Predator. It may still work during Black Friday. Not sure. You can try it. So it could be $100 difference, or you might be able to get them at the same price. That being said, assuming they're the same price, I would overall, they're very close. I probably would go with the Yume Predator, just because of sine wave controllers. Once again, I'm not a speed demon, and I doubt I would ever go 60 miles an hour plus, so I'm not that concerned about the dual stem. The UL listing is a big deal to me. If I'm really, if they're pretty even, and these are very even. There's no question. I love them. I like them both a lot. 170 pounds. As I said, it's a bit intimidating. I'm a decent sized guy right now, 190 pounds, but I lift, and 170 pounds is, only 20 more pounds less than what I weigh right now. So, carrying a decent sized person around. If I had to try to deal with that, it would be, I'd have to have a plan, like I said. I still like it. The 13-inch tires, a bit overkill, but you know what? I'm curious. Quad piston hydraulic brakes, easy. And that's it. So for me, the Predator just edges the XTR out on a couple things: the UL listing, the sine wave controllers, the quad piston hydraulic brakes. Those would tilt me in that area over to the Predator if I could get it at the same price. So if I could go get it for $33.99 with a $100 discount, I would go with the Predator. If I couldn't, then probably the XTR is worth the $700, in my opinion. So, guys, if you found this helpful and you enjoyed this content, please like, share, and subscribe. And happy riding.